15-Minute Mondays, your kickstart to week high-energy 15-minute episode on the Success Blueprint. I'm your host, Daniel Greg Johnson. Let's get right into it. Hello everybody, welcome back on the 15-Minute Monday. I hope that you had a fantastic weekend. We are back. Thank you for coming back. And today we talk about something that is important for young people, if you are a parent, also for young people, and something to generally just look at. The quiet aging of the young, carrying tomorrow's weight today. And that is an important topic. I really had fun putting this together, so let's get right into it. There's a 16-year-old somewhere right now lying awake doing math on a future that hasn't happened yet. Not homework math, life math. Will there be jobs left when I graduate? Will the planet still make sense in 30 years? Can I even afford to live alone ever? Should I have kids into this? And that is not a teenager problem. That used to be a 45-year-old having a crisis problem. And here's the part that should stop you. We keep calling this generation soft, anxious, coddled, can't handle pressure. But what if they're not soft? What if they're just old before their time, carrying weight that previous generations didn't pick up until midlife? Except now it's showing up at 14, at 19, at 22. This matters because it's not just a kids these days conversation. It's reshaping how an entire generation leads, loves, builds businesses, and shows up in the world. And if you're a parent, a manager, a mentor, or honestly just someone who works alongside younger people, this is already affecting you. You just might not have a name for it yet. Today we're calling it what it is, and I'm giving you 5 tools for them and for you to actually do something about it. So what's the problem here? Here's the misread happening almost everywhere. Older generations look at younger people and see fragility, can't take criticism, need a trigger warning for everything, quit jobs or vibes. Want therapy speak instead of just getting on with it. But take a moment and flip that lens. A 22-year-old today is making career decisions whilst watching industries get reshaped by AI in real time. They're trying to save for a future where home ownership in a lot of places isn't really a plan anymore. It's a fantasy. They scroll past climate data, war footage, and an economic forest that says uncertain more than it says anything else. And then they're expected to walk into a job interview and talk about their 5-year plan with a strategic face. You get it? You see what I'm talking about? Previous generations got to be young for longer. Not because life was easier, it wasn't, but because the horizon felt more stable. You could plan around it, even if the plan was hard. And this generation doesn't get that. The horizon itself is the uncertain part. So what looks like anxiety is often just accurate perception. They're not overreacting to the world. In a lot of cases, they're reacting appropriately to a world that adults haven't fully admitted is shaky. And the blind spot? We keep trying to fix their mindset instead of acknowledging their reality. We say just don't compare yourself to others online. True, helpful even, but it skips past the bigger thing. The world actually did change and nobody sat them down and said, here's how to carry that weight without it crushing you because we're still figuring that out ourselves. So what's the problem here? What is the currency that we're bleeding? Let's talk about what happens when nobody names this. A young person feels the weight. The climate dread, the economic fog, the comparison spiral, but has no language for it. So they internalize it. It becomes something's wrong with me. Not something's heavy and I'm carrying it without help. That turns into a strange kind of premature seriousness. You meet 20-year-olds who've already given up on big dreams, not because they're lazy, but because dreaming feels naive when the floor feels unstable. You meet others who burn out before they even build anything because they're sprinting towards security in a race that keeps moving the finishing line. And here's the part that really gets me. A lot of these young people look fine. They're online, they're productive, they're fine, thanks. Meanwhile, they're making major life decisions, career, relationships, whether to even want kids, from a place of quiet dread and not actual desire. That's the cost. Decisions made from fear get made early. Get made small and get made to minimize loss rather than build a life. And it doesn't stay contained to them. If you're leading a team, parenting, mentoring, you're now leading people who are operating from a different emotional baseline than you did at their age. If you don't see that, You'll misread their hesitation as laziness, their caution as a lack of ambition, and their burnout as weakness. You'll be managing or raising a person who's tired in a way you don't recognize, using language from a world that doesn't exist anymore. But let me give you a 5-step toolkit, how you can handle that and how you can understand it better for yourself if you maybe have young people in your life that you're leading, maybe even parenting. Let me give you the toolkit right here. These are for the young people living this reality. The step number 1, the horizon split. Separate the world's problems from my next decision. Most premature aging comes from trying to solve macro-scale uncertainty with a single life choice. And why that matters? You cannot personally fix the economy, the climate, or AI disruption through your career choice, but you act like you can. Like picking the right degree or the right job will protect you from forces way bigger than any individual decision. And what's the real-life application here? Young person choosing between two paths, one safer, one more aligned with what they actually want. Often pick safer because they're trying to outplan global instability. That's an impossible job for one decision to do. When facing a big choice, write 2 lists. List 1, things about the future that are genuinely out of my control. And list number 2, what I can actually evaluate about this decision. Growth, people, fit, what it teaches me. Make the decision based only on list 2. The world's uncertainty doesn't disappear, but it stops hijacking every choice. Step number 2, the comparison audit. Premature aging is accelerated by comparing your real lived in-progress life to others people's edited highlight reels and concluding you're behind on a timeline that was never real to begin with. Generations before had comparison too, but it was local, the neighbor, the cousin, the classmate. Now it's global, curated and constant. You're not comparing yourself to a person, you're comparing yourself to a performance. Someone in their early 20s feels behind because peers online appear to have careers, relationships and stability already figured out at 23. Meanwhile, that figured out life is often 3 months old, partially staged and missing the parts that didn't go well. For 1 week, every time you feel that comparison spike, name it out loud, even just to yourself. That's a highlight. I'm looking at a highlight and comparing it to my whole life. Don't try to stop the feeling, just interrupt the conclusion it's leading you to. Step number 3, the permission to not have it figured out. Previous generations got more runway to be figuring it out before the world expected answers. This generation feels pressure to have clarity at an age when clarity was never realistic. And when you feel like you should already know your purpose, your path, your 5-year plan, and you don't, that gap becomes shame, and shame ages you. It makes you cautious, withdrawn, and overly serious. A 24-year-old who's changed direction twice already feels like a failure, when changing direction at 24 used to be considered normal, expected even. And replace "I should know by now" with "I'm gathering information." Literally reframe each failed direction as data collection, not failure. Say it out loud when it comes up. That wasn't wasted time, that was research. Tool number 4, the weight distribution conversation. A lot of this weight is carried silently because naming it feels like complaining or like admitting weakness. This tool is about deliberately externalizing it, saying the heavy thing out loud to someone who can hold it with you. Weight that's named becomes lighter, not because it disappears, but because you're no longer the only one who knows it's there. A young employee is quietly stressed about whether their role will exist in 2 years because of AI, changes in their company. They say nothing to their manager, their parents, anyone, because it feels like admitting they're replaceable. And what is the practical implementation here? Pick one person, a mentor, a parent, a manager, a friend, and have one honest conversation about one specific fear. Not a vague, "I'm stressed about everything," a specific one, "I'm worried about X." For the adults listening, if a younger person opens up like this, your job isn't to fix it or to minimize it. Your job is not to flinch. Step number 5, the small future. When the big future feels too unstable to plan around, build a small one. Something close, tangible, and within your control. A season, a project, a few months. Big future thinking in an unstable world often produces paralysis or dread. Small future thinking produces momentum, and momentum is what actually rebuilds a sense of agency. Someone who feels frozen by what's my life going to look like in 10 years can instead ask, what do I want the next 90 days to look like? That's answerable. The 10-year question right now often isn't. And forcing it just produces more weight. And how do you apply that? Pick one small future 3 months out. One goal, one shift, one thing you're building toward. Let the big future stay blurry for now. You don't need to solve it today. You need somewhere to put your energy today. And that's the important one here. And what's the deeper meaning here? What's actually happening here? Well, here's the bigger thing underneath all of this. Every generation inherits a story about how the world works and then spends their early years testing whether that story is still true. For a long time, the story was work hard, get educated, follow the steps, and stability follows. Mostly true for a long time, for a lot of people. This generation is the first to grow up watching that story get publicly, visibly, repeatedly disproven in real time and on the same device they're doing homework on. So they're not just anxious, they're grieving a story they were promised and never got to fully believe in the first place. That's a strange kind of grief, grieving something you never had, just the loss of the idea that it was coming. And here's the perspective shift. Maturity that comes from carrying real weight early isn't automatically a bad thing. Some of the most grounded, clear-eyed, quietly wise people I've worked with got that way because life asked something of them early. The problem isn't that they're carrying weight. The problem is they're carrying it alone, without language for it, and being told they shouldn't be feeling it at all. Premature aging becomes a problem when it's silent. It becomes wisdom when it is witnessed. A client of mine, let's call him Sippo, came to coaching describing himself as behind. 26, decent job, but convinced he should have more figured out by now. Relationship, savings, direction. We did the horizon split. Turned out almost everything weighing on him was macro-level stuff he'd folded into his personal timeline. Economic anxiety, comparison to peers, vague dread about the future in general. We separated it. What's actually yours to decide right now turned out very little, actually just what do you want the next few months to look like. He picked one thing, a specific skill, and 3 months, clear goal, nothing about saving the world or solving his whole future. 3 months later, he said something that stuck with me. I thought I needed to figure out my whole life. I just needed to figure out my Tuesday. That's the shift. Not smaller dreams, just a smaller unit of time to actually act in. Let me give you some advanced strategies. The locus of control recalibration borrowed from decision science, deliberately and repeatedly sort concerns into influenceable and not influenceable, then ruthlessly redirect energy toward the first category only. Most premature aging anxiety lives entirely in the second category, unexamined. Then the stoic pre-mortem, not what if it all goes wrong as anxiety, as preparation. Stoics use this to reduce fear of an outcome by mentally rehearsing it calmly in advance. For a young person, actually sit with what if the worst version of this future happens. Not to spiral, but to discover it's survivable. Fear of an unexamined future is almost always worse than the future itself. The generational mentorship loop. Older leaders and mentors stop offering reassurance it will be fine and start offering transparency. Here's what I actually see. Here's how I'd navigate it. And reassurance without honesty reads as dismissal to a generation that's good at detecting performance. Transparency reads as respect. And as always, let me give you your weekly challenge. This week, do a weight check. Number 1, name one thing about the future you've been silently carrying. Number 2, run the horizon split. Is this actually yours to solve, or has it attached itself to your decisions? Number 3, pick one small future, 90 days, one goal. Number 4, have one honest conversation with one person about the thing you named in step number 1. And then number 5, for the adults listening, ask one younger person in your life what they're actually worried about. And don't reassure them, just listen. Naming it is the first act of putting it down. And this is a big one, so listen to it again, share it with some young people that might have to hear this. It is really important. This is a big one. And if this episode had landed, then help me to share it. Copy the episode link, send it to 3 people on Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp, TikTok, wherever you communicate. Get this out to the young people because it will help them. And subscribe, leave a review, and hopefully come back next week for the 15-Minute Monday. And let's not forget our sponsor, Doc Marty Mushrooms. A nervous system that's been carrying tomorrow's weight today needs support today, not someday. Doc Marty's mushroom blends are built for steady focus and calm resilience, useful when you're trying to think clearly instead of just react. Head over to docmarty.com, and if you use DAN20, DAN20, you get a 20% discount on your first purchase. And that's it. I'll leave you in closing with this. If you're young and you feel old, that's not a flaw in you. That's an honest response to a world that's been honest with you, even when the adults around it weren't. You don't owe anyone a 5-year plan. You don't owe the internet a highlight reel. And you don't owe the future a guarantee you can't make. What you can do is take the weight you're carrying, name it, hand part of it to someone who can hold it with you, and then go build your Tuesday. The future doesn't need you to have it all figured out. It just needs you to keep showing up. A little lighter than you were carrying it before. That's enough. That's always been enough. And that was it. I hope that you had a good time, and I'll leave you with my promise. I'll be back. Take care, tribe.